You're listening to What No One Told Us, real conversations about the stuff men aren't always saying out loud, but probably should be. This is part 2 of How Are You Really Mate? Beyond the Beers and Banter. In part 1, Lloyd and Diego cracked open what happens when we move past surface level chat and start speaking honestly, from the role alcohol plays in emotional expression to what it means to truly show up for each other. In this second part, we drop back in just after Lloyd reflects on wanting to be well for others and what that says about how we care for ourselves. Let's pick it up from there.
I know that I could have this conversation with someone that I hadn't seen for a long time. And maybe that comes with practice, with time, with being more secure and knowledgeable in myself and who I am and what I stand for, and that I'm trying to let go of this judgment that I have that I can't be vulnerable with other people, and especially not men. And then sometimes there are people that it misfires with. There's an uncomfortable moment where you feel like you've shared too much. Like I might bump into someone I haven't seen for a long time, and then like I saw someone the other day, a mate who I hadn't seen for a while, and I asked him how he was, and the first 5 minutes it was like, stage 1 and stage 2, mostly stage 1. Yeah, job's going great. I'm getting all this money. I'm happy. They're really looking after me. I'm getting a brand new car. And I'm genuinely happy for him. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, when are we going to get to the next level here? Because I really want to know how you're doing, mate. How are you doing? Really? I'm really interested to know that. I'm super stoked that you've got all those things and everything's going well. I genuinely am. You work hard. You enjoy to have you should enjoy to have all the trappings that life can offer, right? Yeah. But how are you really, mate? As well, like those other parts of you. And I know that if they ask me the question, I'm going to say, well, I'm mostly good. That's one of my favorite ones that I like to say, to people now, instead of saying, I'm okay, or I'm getting by, or so. I'm mostly good because I am mostly good. But you know what? Last week I had a shocking week of the black dog, you know, the fog, depression. I was really down. I was struggling. And then you get this like awkward silence. It's not because they don't care. It's because that's just not done. Now, what would that have been like in the conversation you had with your friends the other day? How would that be different? Would it be different? That was my experience.
It could probably be a joke. They would be like, "Come on, man, you cannot be like that." Or what's happened? Oh, just come over. Like, I don't know. It will be, or it will be like, "Give me a hug," or it will be like, "Really, man? You know who you are. You know, blah blah." And there will be some sort of that comment of trying to not, addressing it very well, but there could be, there is a space for that. There's a space that obviously depending on the person and how deep you can go. But if they know, but for me, the important thing is that if someone is not having a good time. So we were talking about one of these guys today about, oh, last time I saw you, when you separated, you were actually remember that you were not good at all. And the guy, yeah, I was this and that and that. And oh yeah, I remember you told me. Oh yeah, no, and then what did you do? So there was conversation about a time that someone wasn't, one of these, my mate wasn't very well because he had a breakup in marriage. And we're not going deep. There's no a lot of depth, but the conversation, the topics are there. They are available. That's probably my point here, that the topics are available. They are there, and people can actually address them and can talk about that. And maybe the answers are not amazing, or we never get anywhere, but those topics are available, more available for men, a little bit more. Obviously, there is a big range of men in general everywhere, but I think there is more availability of those type of topics. And but yeah,
So
how
it's possible.
when you say, sorry, Lloyd, when you said about not being able to share with men, would you would you be would it be different with women? Like, would you have like more accessibility to share that, or you will feel more listened to, or
Yeah, look, it depends on the man and it depends on the woman. I don't think it's gender specific, or that's certainly not relevant for me. There are women in my life that I can be vulnerable with, and there are men in my life that I could be vulnerable with. There are some
okay.
women that I can't be vulnerable with, and some men that I can't be vulnerable with because it's just not appropriate. There's not that we don't know each other that well. Maybe that's a cultural thing, or that's a personal thing, or maybe there's a development thing for me as well. And maybe sometimes it's just not necessary. I don't know, but
Yeah.
to answer your question, I don't have a problem being. I don't feel that I need to be any different when I talk to a woman
Yeah.
that I can trust the same way I would trust you or other close friends in my life who I can trust. And I have a few people. I'm blessed to have a few people like you, and a couple of close friends who are males, and a couple of females that I can speak honestly to. And I feel incredibly lucky and blessed to have those people in my life.
Mm.
What I'm
And
more interested in is how I can educate, or how I can facilitate, how I can help other men to start to see the same thing, because I believe there's a gift in that. And I believe in New Zealand we are experiencing a shift slowly, very slowly. I believe men are looking for that. They are looking for that. For women, it's a lot easier. You observe them, they get together, and they can get to those parts very quickly, very comfortably. And uh, there is an evolutionary aspect to that as well. We understand from the science, from the history, that men were hunter-gatherers, very individual, very solo, very competitive, very, right in the early caveman days, and the women were very sort of tribal and huddled around and kept together and talked and connected and were very grounded and raised children and did all that sort of thing, right? They had a very specific role, and the men had a very specific role. Go out and hunt food, be sort of the protector, the male element,
yeah.
So that's just sort of evolved over time, right? In different forms and different ways. And now we're seeing a very, very different environment where women are doing a lot more of the gathering and hunting, and those roles are a little different, right? You can
Yeah.
see men that are more available for the children, or doing more of those like feminine kind of roles. I say that very, very loosely for any woman that might be listening. Anyway, the point is that things are shifting.
Yes.
What I'm really passionate about is seeing more men have more conversations freely without necessarily the need for a social construct.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of men, they find different ways to get together with other men. They go and play golf. And I know if I joined those men on the golf course, the conversation's probably very similar. How's the week gone? What have you conquered? Who have you conquered? How have you progressed? What have you won? Sport is always there for Kiwi blokes, it's always in the conversation. And that's cool. We're a very passionate sporting culture, right? I'm not knocking any of that. Let me just say that again. I'm not knocking any of that. I can be in that space very comfortably. What I'm interested in is that third stage, like, can we get to that more openly, more freely in environments like go for a walk on the beach or go and sit somewhere and have a coffee, and maybe we don't need to talk about all the achievements and goals. I mean, those things are all cool and all important, right? But can we talk about the other stuff too? Because I think you want to, mate.
Yeah.
And we connect on another level, and we explore what a relationship, the next level of that relationship, because I know what it's like. I think, let me re-say that. I can see the value in that. I've lived that. And I think that as a society and as a culture, we will be better off if we start to live it. And things like mental health and the stats that we have here in New Zealand are through the roof. When we talk about men's suicide, particularly around middle age, one of the highest in the world. I don't believe it's a coincidence. I think there's a very strong linkage between the type of relationships and connections that men are having and declining mental health. I'm advocating for balance. I'm passionate about that cause, and I believe that the conversations that we're having here in this podcast might be helpful to facilitating a little bit of that change, even if it can help one person. That would be amazing.
Yeah. No, I hear you, and thank you for reiterating everything that we've been saying about, why we're here, why we're doing this. And also hearing that you're carrying a flag of this, of the purpose of this podcast. In a way, you are dealing with this firsthand, right? You're seeing it, and you're also benefiting from the conversations, benefiting from the connections, benefiting from opening up when things are not that great. So yeah, thank you for sharing all of that. And on behalf of anyone that might be struggling to open up, or carrying that burden of trying to be amazing all the time, or look amazing, or talk about all the achievements to cover other things. So, because at the end of the day, I'm very convinced we are the achievements, we are the failures, we are the beautiful people, we are the awful ones, we are the ones that make mistakes, the ones that we made amazing things, that we are great lovers, and that we are very bad lovers as well. We're good fathers, sometimes we're not that good. Sometimes we look good, sometimes we don't look very good. But that's all part of who we are. And we don't need to share always the beautiful part of ourselves, because it's unreal.
There's something that you said in the last part of our conversation, in episode 5, that I mentioned to you before we started recording this, and I just feel like it ties in really beautifully here. You were speaking about your own experience of dropping the struggle and opening up to vulnerability. Do you remember that conversation?
Yes, not to detail, but yes, I sort of remember it.
Well, I more or less have it here, actually, so is it okay if I just share it again?
Yes, go for it.
You said, and I'm not quoting word for word here, but you said more or less, when I started to believe in vulnerability and see it other than weakness, I started to get stronger. When I started to work on being more vulnerable, more open in my heart, I felt stronger. And I also started to look stronger to others around me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So perhaps as a starting point for further conversations, if other men are listening and they're liking, or they're intrigued about what we are talking about, and they are finding resonance and they can relate to this to their own life, they might be thinking, where do I start if I want to experience more of what these two jokers are talking about? Seems like a big mountain, but how can we dial it into small achievable steps, and what might be the first one? And why I read what you just said is because it sounds to me like there could be some direction there.
Mm. And Lloyd, the way when you were sharing about, those days that were not amazing, and when I hear, when I see that, I see a very strong person that actually acknowledges and lives with everything, all right, with those days, with the other days, and the days that follow, and you are responsible and taking charge of that, which in my view, that's strength. On the other hand, also, you are sharing with, you're allowing me to look at a little bit of at my days and how I feel and so there is a double result of this. One is you sharing, is you making someone know what's happening, and also I can actually look at myself while listening to you as well. So it is an opening, all right? It's an opening for for whatever needs to be shared.
So,
And
you're saying,
yes,
by me being vulnerable, you feel you can be vulnerable too? And
yes, for sure.
it looks like
Yes,
strength, not
yes,
weakness.
yes, for sure. And because I remember when we had a little bit of conversation, I spoken about I started a conversation with you before the recording about me being in Barcelona and just came from this island with my mates, and I'm here, and then I share about that, how happy I am to do the podcast from here and blah blah. And then you started sharing how was your week. And instantly it came to the surface. Yes, I'm with my mates in in paradise and having all of that. But I also have a big breakdown with the woman that I'm going out. I also had a breakdown on smoking a couple of cigarettes. I also have a breakdown not eating exactly what I wanted to eat. I almost thought, so you know what I mean? And so I didn't share that with you, but it started coming out. All right. It's like, yes, I paint you my holidays and it's beautiful. And I got all the photos. But it's not true that I had all this amazing time. I had the amazing times and the other times, and I'm dealing with all of that. So the fact that you opened up your experience on last week, it actually made me realize that I was painting you a holiday picture with a beautiful thing, which isn't true because all my time was mainly beautiful, but I was also dealing with other stuff that were not very comfortable. And I probably needed to share too, you know? So thank you, because you are opening and making me realize that I was also talking to you, choosing or being on the first stage of the conversations, talking about nice things. But I also have other things to share that they were not that beautiful.
The tough stuff as well as the beautiful stuff.
Yes, yes, and because sometimes it looks like your life it has only that amazing sort of beautiful stories, um, and they're beautiful. There's no need to bring dark things all the time. But if I'm talking to you as a mate, I'm not telling you the full picture. And if you are suffering and everybody around you are telling you that their lives are perfect, those are lies. That's not real. So yes, I've been having an amazing time here. I had very good conversations, but also I was also dealing with things that I'm not very happy about, and I'm learning from them, and also, accepting some weaknesses, and yeah, I'm working on not working on. I'm looking at them. I'm very, very, very present on looking at my behavior and some aspects of my life, which is giving like.
Thank you for sharing. We got to third base eventually.
Yeah, I got my glass of whiskey under the table. No, I'm joking. But yeah, you know what I mean. And that was an amazing example of what vulnerability can open up to the other person, right? Because if you tell me only an amazing sort of a speech of your week, I will come up with another beautiful week. And then you come up with another one, and then what if we never go underneath what's happening as well? So looks like there's no room for those other topics. And it's not that they always need to have room, but there are things that are happening. We cannot not say them. If I'm saying to you all these beautiful things, I also had to acknowledge that the other ones existed as well. Because if you're sharing life, that's life. Not only the good things are life. And then we decide if we're going, if we start digging into the one part of the other things, but at least they're on the table, and then we decide if we continue deeper into one of those topics or not. But at least I know that you have a week that you had beautiful mornings like this morning, because I know that you went for your cold, that you just swim in the cold water with your group, meditation group, and I know that you love it. But I also know that a couple of days or a few days last week you were not that well. I also know that you're recovering from your injury. I mean, there is a complexity of things that I know about you, which makes me closer to you, and also allowed me, as you said at the very, very beginning, allows me to share or to be actually honest with you that I don't have it all sorted. I'm dealing with things that are getting out of hand in my life, or at least they are not as I'm not as responsible as I wanted to be. But yeah, that's the full circle of, from in my point of view, that's the full circle of the conversation.
If someone is, I mean, like I said, I feel blessed to have you in my life, and I feel blessed to have a few people in my life that I feel that I can have, that I can share the light and the dark, you know. I imagine what it would be like if I didn't have people like that, yet I still wanted, or I was curious to know what it feels like to have conversations like this with other men or anybody. How is that? How is that for some people out there that maybe don't have these connections, but they want to have these conversations? Where might they start? How did you start? You told me last week that when you started from a place that where potentially you believed being vulnerable was a sign of weakness, and when you went through a journey from that point to learn something different, and things started to look a lot differently, and your life changed for the better. And if someone's listening to that and is curious to know what that might feel like or look like, what can you say? What can you advise for that? Like how do you start? Where do you start in your experience?
Well, I was lucky that I was doing like I started doing like a self-development course where there were a lot of people, and men included, and the language that we were talking and the sharing was very open. And so I had an environment where I could actually express myself and then learn from others as well that were sharing very vulnerably. And that's when I realized that how important is to share, because I was instantly benefiting from the generosity of other people sharing. And yes, sometimes it looks very negative. Sometimes, you don't want to hear problems or things or issues. So, however, if you do it on a learning and with a learning intention, and also applying compassion, it becomes something else. It becomes it's not a moan. It's not that you need to solve someone else's problem. It's just only creating the space for the good, the bad, and the ugly to come up to the surface, so we could actually be real. So, and I can see a real Lloyd, Lloyd can see a real Diego, and then, all right, we are real. Cool. This is a great conversation. Um, or because if we keep looking for uh, good news all the time, and Lloyd tops up with great news, I top up with another great news. We we stopped the conversation. We said, okay, yeah, that was a lie. That was not the whole picture. and and yeah, the good things are part of the picture, and they are and they have a big space, but also the other bits and pieces are part of the picture too. Do we need to disclose it all the time? I don't know if all the time, but you know that they're happening. So
if you're going through a hard time, there can be real value in sharing that with another human being. Maybe that looks like really being brave and being open and getting outside your comfort zone for a lot of people. I understand that because I was in that space. And just taking that first step, I guess, to reach out and connect with someone can be the difference between life and death. As a dramatic inference. And it can also just be the difference between, one having a bad day and needing someone to. So there are different extremes and different cases of where people are at in their journey. And if we're talking about mental health for men, I would just like to use this opportunity to say that if you don't have someone like that in your life, that you can feel comfortable to reach out and share some of the stuff that you need to get off your chest, then I'm here.
Mm.
I'm willing to have a conversation with you. And if you like, we can go slow. We can go through first and second base before we get to the third base. But maybe I can open that up to you as well, Diego. You can offer your
Yes,
ears
definitely.
and your listening space to anyone out there that might be going through something and wants somebody to talk to.
Yeah, good initiative, and good proposal. Yeah, you're very brave. No, I also offer my time and myself to for conversations. I have a couple of people in my life that I have weekly established conversations, like we oblige ourselves to have those conversations, and just to check where we are. And sometimes those are big conversations, sometimes it's very small conversations, but at least they are there. So yeah, if you feel like you need one of those conversations, yeah, reach out.
Absolutely.
Or
And
100 Lloyd, 100 Diego.
well, outside of the podcast, it's worth mentioning that we're both trained coaches, aren't we, Diego? I mean, we are in our spare time, like you say, we are I have a business, I have a coaching business called The Calm Guy. I support people with this sort of stuff, overwhelm or stress or getting calmer, getting clearer, getting more confident, and facilitating a space for people to have those kind of conversations in. And it's really a passion for me, that space, So if there is anyone out there that is in need, you can reach out to myself, or Diego, and we are here. We are here for you, mates.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And yeah.
It must be getting close to what, midnight there now in Spain, or is it now What time is it
1
then?
a.m.
Podcasting at 1 a.m. in the morning. Now that is dedication for you.
Yeah, but it's 1 a.m. is probably 10 p.m. in New Zealand. In sort of it's equivalent to be working at 10 p.m. in New Zealand, 1 a.m. Because everything is later here. Everything is like 2-3 hours later than New Zealand. So, but yeah, no, it was a pleasure to connect the Lloyd and as always, lovely conversations
Thank you.
and yeah, thank you.
Look forward to seeing you in a few weeks.
Back in Aotearoa. I'm looking forward to walk down the entrance at the airport and listen to the birds.
You're talking about the Auckland International Airport when you walk down you go down the travelator and it's got those nature sounds and like the imagery on the wall there.
Yes, and yeah, I don't know if it's still there, but that's what I'm looking for.
Take care until then, my friend.
Yeah, thanks, Lloyd. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to What No One Told Us. If anything in today's episode landed with you, stirred something, or made you feel seen, we are glad you're here. Lloyd and Diego are always open to connecting, and you'll find links to reach out, follow along, or learn more in the show notes. If you are enjoying the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe on Spotify and follow us on Instagram and Facebook to stay connected between episodes. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other.